Well, hey everyone, welcome back to Nintendo Prime. We got to be talking about some Switch 2 news, of course, give you a little roundup of news that we didn't get to over the last 12 to 24 hours. So we got some interesting stuff in here, including a look at the opening scene to Metroid Prime 4, which I will put a link down in the description so you can listen to the full audio, because we won't be listening to the audio in this particular thing. I'm just going to talk over what's being shown, because I haven't even watched the full thing. We've only seen little snippets of it from Treehouse, so I think that's pretty cool. We have some other news going on with like what Nintendo is actually spending on video games and to make video games, which is pretty crazy. It's the highest number they've ever spent in this upcoming fiscal year, or this current fiscal year. So that's absolutely insane, and just so much more to dive into that I'm really excited. And I also have to kind of rush this a bit because I got to get my ass over to PAX East. I got multiple meetings again today. It just keeps stacking up. Originally, I had no meetings on Saturday. Now I'm at like 3 of them. Dude, I don't know what the hell's happening, but what I do know is that we are giving away 2 Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart World bundles right now. To enter into those free giveaways, all you have to do is go down to the link in the description or in the pinned comment and enter. We'll be drawing the winner about 10 days before Nintendo Switch 2 releases. And that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the news. We have this first story. This video here posted by this Ethan person, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond intro. I don't know if they got this recording at the Switch 2 experience. That's what I kind of assume it came from, but it's pretty high quality, all things considered, especially if this happens to be off TV footage. But either way, this looks really good. Obviously, we're seeing the ship flying in here from Samus, and entering the planet, going through that atmosphere stuff, and boom, look at that. There's like a space battle going on. What is this, Star Wars? It's giving me some Star Wars vibes here, which is pretty cool. With some of their huge battles they have going on, except this battle's happening up in the planet's atmosphere. Let's see what Samus does here. Samus is getting out the big guns. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, this is like cinematic sort of stuff from the game, but looks really good. Looks really good. And there's a city under fire as well. Again, we've seen little tidbits and bits and pieces of this at the Nintendo Treehouse. We just haven't seen the full 90-second thing here as it continues to go with the big boys shooting the cannon. We've seen them in action a little bit in the demo. Let's see here. We have I mean, I don't know whose side is who. Obviously, I'm assuming the side on the ground is the side Samus is on, since Samus just took out that ship that was shooting at the big guy. And this must be right about where Samus comes in, and then there we go. The ship comes in and lands, and we get to the very beginning of the game when the player first gets to actually control our heroine, Samus Aran. Or is she a heroine? Or she's a bounty hunter. She good? Is she evil? I have no idea. I just like playing Metroid, so there you go. Pretty cool stuff, I have to say, and honestly, I'm just really looking forward to Metroid Prime 4. Let's not beat around the bush here. Metroid Prime 4 looks incredible. The more we see of it, the more I want to play it. And you know what sucks? When we talk about a lot of misinformation getting out there about Switch 2 and about Nintendo's games and the platform and all of that. The worst part is when Nintendo themselves has to combat misinformation that's being self-created by the very fan base watching their content. Or are they fans? I don't know. There's been this thing going around I've been ignoring because I didn't think there was any merit to it. But there's been a popular theory out there that Mario Kart World was using AI art, especially on the billboards. I'm not going to go over all the examples where people thought this was happening, because I don't have to. Because Nintendo has come out and said, yeah, that's bullshit. Here we go from Eurogamer. Nintendo responds to suggestion that AI-generated images used in Mario Kart World after artwork shown in the Treehouse Live prompted concerns. So Nintendo has pushed back on the suggestion that AI-generated images have been used in Mario Kart World. This statement comes after eagle-eyed viewers watching the game's recent Nintendo Treehouse live stream noticed in-game billboards by sides of a racetrack that featured artwork similar in appearance to that made by generative AI. AI-generated images were not used in the development of Mario Kart World, a Nintendo spokesperson told Eurogamer. The images in question include artworks of a bridge used on a billboard in a city area. It includes wonky lines and oddly placed elements reminiscent of AI-generated image. We're talking about this one right here. And look, it just turns out that was artistic interpretation for that billboard. Second billboard next to features a work in progress skyscraper with strangely oriented floors and pathways, again, similar to an image created by AI generation. And again, this just happened to be what they wanted to do from an artistic perspective. It should be noted that the version of Mario Kart World shown during the Treehouse live stream was likely not the final version of the game, and it's normal for placeholder visuals to be present while the game is still in development. Although I kind of figured Mario Kart World's probably done because they literally had public demos of this like right after. So, yeah, I think it's interesting because, it's saying, it'll be interesting to see these pieces of artwork make it into the game's final launch build. It's also possible these artwork are literally actually made by an artist. It's entirely possible that, we used to never question this kind of stuff until generative AI came along. We would just call this a little bit of abstract art is usually what this would be called. But because of the world of AI generated art and the fact that AI generated art makes things that look wonky all the time, well, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's made people naturally question. But hey, as I said here, as we scroll up, Nintendo came out and said AI generated images were not used in the development of Mario Kart World. So to me, whether those are placeholders or not doesn't really matter because they're literally saying we didn't use AI generated art. Again, maybe somebody working for the team is passing off AI generated art as their original work. That wouldn't be like the first time someone in the workplace has attempted to do that. But I got to go off Nintendo's word, of course. That's all we can really rely on. I know we all have our own eyeballs. And again, if this was like 10, 15 years ago, we would just call it abstract art. But it's not 10, 15 years ago. So maybe some employee is pulling off a lie to keep their job going. Or maybe it actually was a true artistic interpretation. Nintendo's denying the use of AI generated art. So I guess we just have to take them at their word unless something else comes out proving otherwise. Now, we got to go ahead and talk about this weird thing that is popping up with Cyberpunk and the build they had at Amsterdam. Because something in that build, I don't know if it's a newer build, but it heavily suggested 60 FPS, which doesn't feel right. When they officially said it's going to be 30 FPS in quality mode, 40 FPS in performance mode, why the hell would there be 60? Now, again, this could just be a misprint, of course, but we go over here. This is Cyberpunk build and Amsterdam event said it runs at 60 FPS. Now, this could very well be wrong since it was only a preview build and maybe the wording hasn't been updated, but still, the game felt really good on handheld. Way better than on my LCD Steam Deck. I think the fact that the fan isn't going on like crazy probably helps. I didn't record much video or take a lot of pictures, but I did record a video trying to see if it was indeed 60 FPS. And the problem with his video is his phone, he recorded it at 30 FPS on his phone. So it's not actually going to help anyone trying to count frames because, again, his phone didn't record at 60. He just, he made a goofball mistake. He was trying to record it on the fly. And I get how it works. Like I try to record in 4K on my phone while I'm here at PAX East and like, it doesn't default to it. I keep having to tap it every time. So if you forget, then you don't get it. If you want HDR recordings, you got to tap that as well. Anyways, I took a few more pictures and one showing the settings where it says 60 FPS, but I couldn't upload them at the same time as a video. And this is the video here, which again, isn't going to show anything other than the game's running smooth. He did note he didn't really get into any gunfights or anything. He just wanted to run around and see how the world ran. And he was comparing doing the same thing to the Steam Deck, saying that it just running around felt smoother than on his Steam Deck. Now we got to take his word for it. It's just one person. We obviously, don't have the direct comparisons right now. That stuff will happen after the game comes out here, which, we're not that far away, a few weeks away, but yeah. And so, it's on here, with that, you've got a favorite part of the game. Here he is trying to show the settings menu that shows 60 FPS, which again, this is probably just a leftover setting that hasn't been changed. It probably isn't actually running at 60 FPS. I want to be very clear because the official statements, just like, hey, if we're taking Nintendo's official statements on AI generated art, we got to take Cyberpunk devs' official statements where they said it runs at 30 and 40. So I suspect there's no way in heck it's running at 60, but maybe something crazy happened and there's a new build, and in that new build, they were able to get it to 60, and they just didn't think it was going to be possible. Again, I highly doubt it, but who knows? It's just something to note that is present in the Amsterdam build when it did not say that in prior builds, which do suggest the build used in Amsterdam might have been a newer build and not an older one. So just something to consider. Now, we haven't really deep dive into Nintendo's financials. We went over the Q&A last video. But there's some interesting figures I want to look at and add some context to. And I'm going to give a shout out here to Daniel Ahmed, who put this stuff up on X. So let's go over here and look at what he posted. Said, these charts on Nintendo expenses. Nintendo plans to increase spending 62% year on year in April 2025 to March 2026, aligning with the Switch 2 launch. The orange bar, the highest ad spend in comparison, remains just 7.4% of revenue, very similar to last year. As you can see, this is the revenue spend, or the percent of revenue, which last year, they were kind of pretty close to break even on what they spent and what they made, whereas they're projecting to be pretty far ahead of that. But there's this next one I think is where things get really interesting. So it says R&D spend hit a record for fiscal year 2024-2025 and is set to increase further next year. R&D spend has risen significantly since 2020 in the lead up to Switch 2, reaching 12.3% of total revenue. Nintendo is ramping up hiring and working on a greater number of projects. Now, it's important to note, research and development, that's not just like working on a console. That's their entire game development budget is in there. That makes up a majority of it, actually, is their entire game development budget. And Nintendo noted last year that it was getting more and more expensive to make games. That, even for Nintendo, right? People talk about Nintendo's game budgets. It's more and more expensive. Well, Nintendo... All right, so unless my math is incorrect, I believe they're spending about $1.1 billion on making video games this current fiscal year, and obviously a little bit less than that the year before, and a little bit less the year before that. But point is, Nintendo is spending a lot on making games for Switch 2. I know people act like they don't spend a lot of money on making video games, but their budget is saying otherwise. So this is like their yearly budget, not a budget for an individual game, of course. That'd be a bit wild. Only things like Grand Theft Auto 6 probably have budgets quite that high, but that's that high over the course of making the game over many years. Nintendo's budgets for games are clearly going up, a massive increase over the Switch era, and it kind of went up. You can kind of see on the chart their budget for games really went up. You can see how like much it used to cost, like back in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 9, like back in that time frame. Nintendo's budgets weren't super crazy, but Nintendo was charging $60 for games. I'm not trying to use this as a justification for an $80 Mario Kart. I'm just noting that like they're spending more than double what they used to spend back in like the Wii U days, the 3DS days, the Wii days, the DS days. Nintendo is spending an awful lot on game development, and I thought that was just important to point out. Also, employee count continues to increase, reaching 8,205 in fiscal year 2004-2005, which is 6.2% up year on year. It's the largest Nintendo's ever been as a company. This is in contrast to other firms and reminiscent of the Wii and DS era, where hiring skyrocketed. Nintendo is expected to growth to continue with Switch 2 and is increasing spend accordingly. And you can just see they just keep going up in employees. They had a little bit of lull, obviously, with the Wii U not doing so hot, and then Switch came out. They've just been increasing staff ever since to their highest employee count of all time. So just take into consideration that Nintendo seems to be really good at investing back in themselves and investing in the games that we all know and love. All right, guys, I got one more story for you quick before we get out of here. It has to do with the Pro Controller. A lot of people have been asking me even, hey, what's up with the D-pad? Is the D-pad better than the Switch 1 Pro Controller? And look, nobody really was testing it out because most of the games being on display at the Switch 2 experience aren't really focusing on the D-pad. Even when people play Street Fighter, they're kind of encouraging people to use like this new motion control thing. You don't have to use it, but people, have been encouraged to. We're not hearing a lot about the D-pad. So does that mean the D-pad's just unimpressive? Are people just not using it? What is going on? Well, somebody used it. And again, this is one person's take, but they feel like it's better. So Switch 2 Pro Controller fixed. So yesterday I got to test out everything from the Switch 2 at an Amsterdam event, but there was one detail that no one had really talked about yet, and that is the D-pad of the Switch 2 Pro Controller. I played some Tears of the Kingdom with the Pro Controller. I got in the menu and started rocking the D-pad to test any missed inputs, and absolutely nothing. They fixed the D-pad. Now again, one person's take, and that's not like the greatest test in the world to do for a D-pad test, but it is notable that yes, you can use the D-pad in the menus. And yes, when you do it on Switch 1 with a Switch 1 Pro Controller, there is definitely some missed inputs. He's saying it's not there, so they improved it. I sure hope so, because I feel like making a proper D-pad from the company that literally invented the thing shouldn't be too difficult. But sometimes, you work on so many different design elements that you forget one of the basics that you mastered so long ago. And then, you just rely on some company who already had a weird design, and you just use their design. And then like the stub is too short or something else is different. The membrane's incorrect. And next thing you know, you have the crappy D-pad that's on the Switch 1 Pro controller, and they're saying it's better. So I guess we'll see, obviously, for ourselves. Day one, I will have a Switch 2 Pro controller, and I do have a Switch Pro controller, so we can literally test it in real time and see, hey, what's the situation where this D-pad maybe misses, and what's the situation where we'll see if this D-pad is having those same missed inputs, or let's say additional inputs where it's pushing the wrong direction, right? So we'll give that a test on day one when we do our big live stream. That being said, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this and you want to stay as up to date on Nintendo and Switch 2 and all the things going on with the games, all you got to do is subscribe right here. As gosh, I mean, do I even float this out there? Are we on our road to 200,000? Is that what we're doing right now? Are we on our road to 200,000 subscribers? Is it too late, like too early to say that? I don't know. But thank you guys for being here. I'll catch you in the next one.